Welcome, NFL football fans. It's that time again, time for another edition of NFL Football Talk. I'm your host, Charles E. Smith Jr. This is an Inside Sports production, and here we are already up to getting into Week 5 of the 2016 NFL season. So thank you for joining us every single week here. And remember, we got everything for you. We're going to have our pick segment later on, our Gambler's Delight special, which debuted last week, was a rousing success. So we're going to bring it back this week and go on throughout the season. So as many of you know, I do not work alone here. I do enlist the help of the very, very best. And here he is. Some of you already follow him on Twitter at Chris L. Sports. And if not, you should be. A proud graduate of Rutgers University. Here he is from an undisclosed location, one of the most fantastic football minds you'll find anywhere. Here he is, Chris Lardieri. Chris, what's happening out there, man?
Charles, again, thank you for a phenomenal introduction. I am a graduate of Rutgers University, although I am not very proud after that butt whooping at the hands of the Ohio State last weekend, but I will say I got a good education there if we don't have a good football program.
There we go. Okay, so, last week, hey, we got to just give up some congratulations here. And the Atlanta Falcons, who just kept things rolling. Last week, Matt Ryan goes over 500 yards passing, Julio Jones with 300 yards receiving, and they just roll over the Carolina Panthers. And now what we got to talk about is last week we picked this game, and it was about the Panthers. Their offense hadn't been right. They hadn't been really getting into a good rhythm. And you had pointed out they had really lost to a couple of the best defenses in the league in Denver and Minnesota. But when you can't put up points against Atlanta, let's forget about Atlanta's juggernaut offense. But Atlanta's defense is nothing to write home about.
Absolutely not. And it's really dumbfounding and a head-scratcher to me. The only thing I could think of is maybe they really miss Josh Norman. Now, do I think he's worth the money Washington gave him? No, but the thing is, it's kind of like with Darrelle Revis and the Patriots. Maybe he was coming on the downswing of his career, but you couldn't throw at the guy. So right there, you can't defend for something like that. It's hard. You're seeing it now with Patrick Peterson in Arizona. Mm-hmm. I mean, teams aren't even trying to throw his way, and that's the effect Josh Norman had last year. So I think it's partially that, and I guess we have to give the Falcons some credit. I mean, Julio Jones, right. Everyone talks about Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr. I think he's making a case for one of the, if not best, wide receiver in the NFL. And your boy Matty Ice is putting it up here in the first quarter of the season. As long as it's not January, I guess he's good for some big numbers.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll see what happens this week. They got another big matchup coming up against Denver. We're going to pick that game a little bit later on here. But now the remaining undefeated teams in the AFC, one stands alone. The Denver Broncos sitting at 4-0. And then the NFC, Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. And, hey, Tom Brady comes back this week, everybody. And I guess we figured out how deep you can go into the Patriots quarterback rotation before you get a win. And what it is the Patriots cannot win with a third-string quarterback that has an injured thumb. That's what we figured out this week.
Yeah, or one that used to play quarterback, but they needed to play wide receiver this particular game. I'm really surprised that not only Rex Ryan keeps his job for another week, but I thought at least the Patriots had put some points up in the second half there. They were non-existent, but all is well. Tom is back from his vacation at Rome and throwing a football to his son and Wes Welker, etc. So who does he get his first game back to ease into the NFL season? The mighty Cleveland Browns. Talk about perfect fate.
Yeah, there you go. And the Browns have always been rather user-friendly. And they get the Browns a Bill Belichick defense against a rookie quarterback. Yeah, this is a recipe for disaster. Well, I don't know. When the Browns lose, when is it a disaster for the Browns, looking at how much losing they do? At what point do they call it a disaster?
That's a good question. They've been very good at snatching defeat from the jaws of victory this particular season. It's like they're getting the doors blown off them. So hard to kind of define. When you think about it, looking at baseball with the Indians in the playoffs, if they make a run or win a title, then there's even more pressure on the Browns. So I think that'll make that more of a franchise even more sad. But in their defense, they've had a lot of injuries, and now the news this week that Josh Gordon's back in rehab, really just a sad train wreck. So It's a lot of bad luck for Hugh Jackson in his first year.
Yeah, that's true. And now let me just say this: when we went, just go back to Matty Ice. Now, here's something I heard during the broadcast. Now, was Chris Spielman just getting a little bit overzealous? But here's what he said, and I really couldn't kind of believe it, so I wrote it down. Stockton and Spielman were doing the broadcast. Spielman says that Matt Ryan surveys and sees the field better than any quarterback in the National Football League. Now, when he said this, I wonder what Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers were thinking.
They were thinking that Chris Spielman's finally doing NFL games and will do anything to make a name for himself, apparently, because I've seen Matty throw almost as many bad interceptions as my team's quarterback, Eli Manning. That's maybe he's seeing the field really great that game, or maybe he came out before the game and surveyed the field and got some good pictures. I'm not quite sure what to make of that statement.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so before we get into picking this week's games, Mr. Lardieri, you always have some words of wisdom for everybody out there. What's going on in Lardieriville? What are you seeing? What's happening?
Well, two things. Here in L.A., we've got a first-place team, and the fans are noticing and hop back on the bandwagon. The Los Angeles Rams, debating last week on my Gambler's Delight pick, and by the way, thank you, San Diego Chargers, for choking again, and Charles for texting me during the game to keep the faith. But anyway, the Rams are doing it with a phenomenal defense. I think a lot of people here finally realize who Aaron Donald is and what a monster he is, and they're doing it with Case Keenum at quarterback. It's almost like they're winning in spite of him, and keeps it up. We may not even see Jared Goff play this year, which will raise even more questions as to why they didn't pick Carson Wentz. But a lot of excitement there with that. And we touched on this in previous shows, but tired of hearing about the NFL ratings being down and blaming it on the election and Donald Trump. As usual on this show, we're the first to kind of shed light on things that the mainstream media follows like lemmings afterwards. But like I said, they're talking about primetime games, and you've got Thursday night, you've got Sunday night, you've got Monday night. That's a lot of saturation. I don't necessarily know it's the election, because a lot of the people I talk to are educated and have jobs, frankly, are sick of the damn election and want it to be over with. So I'm thinking it's a function of a couple of things. We've had some bad matchups, especially on Thursday and Monday Night Football, and by Monday, I don't know about you, but if it's not a compelling game, I'm kind of footballed out after Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. And it used to be that Monday was kind of a marquee matchup, but Thursday night games have always kind of been questionable ever since they started putting them on. I've always looked at the Thursday night lineup and thought, really? This is what you want to reserve one night for?
Yeah, I mean, how many times can the Cardinals play the 49ers or the Rams? It seems like they switch every other year. How many times can we see the Titans and their Dolphins in their hideous color rush uniforms? Really, I hate to agree with Ray Lewis, but I will here. I think it's not good from a physical perspective, and it's an oversaturation. And one more thing, enough with the London games, Roger Goodell. I don't think the people in England even want to see the Jaguars and the Colts.
Okay, so here we go now. Last week, the games we picked, Carolina at Atlanta, Kansas City at Pittsburgh, which we had the return of Le'Veon Bell, who had a monster game, over 140 yards from scrimmage, and the New York Giants at Minnesota. We went 2-1 last week, which was pretty good. We both missed on Carolina. So let's go ahead and get into the picks of this week. First game, the Washington Redskins in Baltimore to play the Ravens. Washington sit at 2-2. The Ravens at 3-1. They fell from the ranks of the unbeaten last week as they fell to the Raiders. How do you see this one, Mr. Lardieri? It looks like Kirk Cousins has kind of got command of the field again, but then again, some injuries. D'Angelo Hall being out for the season for the Redskins. Redskins in Baltimore. Who do you like here?
I don't know why, but my gut's telling me to go with the Redskins. For whatever reason, when I doubt them, they seem to come back. Or even when you think they'll blow out a team like the Browns, will let you down. It's somewhat of this weird inverse relationship I have analyzing them. That combined with the fact I know that the Ravens are undefeated. They lost a close one to the Raiders, who a lot of people are really impressed with that team, think they're going to make a run in the AFC West. But just not that impressed with the Ravens offense. Flacco's throwing to Steve Smith and Mike Wallace, which is great, but long term, I don't think those are really viable weapons for him. The running back by committee has become even more of a question mark. Got rid of Justin Forsett. Kenneth Dixon really put fear in the eyes of the Washington front seven? I don't think so. I do like the way the offense is kind of clicking now with Cousins. I guess if you go off the record and tell a reporter that you can't stand him and trust your very own quarterback, that let fire under him because he's played better the last few weeks. I'm not going on anything scientific other than the fact that I think the NFC East is wide open, and other than Justin Tucker, I don't like what I see from the Ravens offense, so I will pick the Washington professional football team named after Native Americans.
Okay, there you go. And what I'm going to have to do here is I think, now I would go with Washington, but I think it's going to be a case of a little bit of the injury situation kind of catching up with them. And in particular, I think with their defensive backfield being a little bit weak, and Mike Wallace, finally this year, he's gotten free and is doing a little bit more than just show potential. He's gotten free for some big plays. So I think what's going to happen here, it'll be a coulda, woulda, shoulda for Washington. I think Wallace gets free for maybe 2 big plays that wind up affecting the game. So by the narrowest of margins, I'm going to take Baltimore in this one.
Spoken like a true Steeler fan. You used to see Mike Wallace with his big plays. I remember him lighting up the Giants on one occasion. And you still have hope for the guy. You want him to do well. We'll see if he's run out of gas.
Okay, we shall see. So we split on that one. And next game now, Atlanta, and this will be where we see if they're truly for real. The Atlanta Falcons and that number 1 ranked offense in Denver to play the best defense in the NFL. So irresistible force meets immovable object. There's all kinds of cliches and everything we could say for this game. But we don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for Denver. Apparently it doesn't matter. Will it be Trevor Siemian? Will it be Paxton Lynch? We don't quite know at this point. Siemian going down with that shoulder injury. But Atlanta, I think with this chance, they're 3-1 in the NFC South. Everyone else in the division, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Carolina, they're all at 1-3. They have a chance here to win this game and really put some distance between themselves and their competitors. They're going to want this game pretty bad. This is going to be the best defense that Matt Ryan has faced, but I'm going to go ahead and take the offense over the defense here, and I'm going to say, I'm going to take Atlanta in this game.
Jumping on the Matty Ice bandwagon, I like it.
The regular season.
Yeah. I don't want to jump on them for any season. I'm going with the Broncos. I really don't care who plays quarterback. That defense is the real deal. Now, can they do it through a whole season and run their way to Houston and win another Super Bowl? That I don't know, but I do know that Aqib Talib, who apparently pulled his best Plaxico Burress impression over the summer and shot himself, he will make Julio Jones a marked man. I think that secondary is much better than Carolina's. I highly doubt you'll see him getting 300 yards. He'll be double-teamed constantly. You take that away from Matt Ryan, does Jacob Tammy really put here in the Denver D? I don't think so. Even if Lynch plays, I don't think you need him to do a heck of a lot. It's not like the Atlanta defense is that formidable, and I don't see them winning in Mile High. I do agree with you that they kind of moved to the forefront to be the favorites in the NFC South, but not this week at Denver.
All righty. There you go. So you're going with the reigning world champions to win this game against a team that missed the playoffs last year. Okay. I get all the logic there. I really do.
Yeah, and mind you, I don't like picking the Broncos just on a personal level. I'm just being an objective journalist / handicapper.
Well, that's what I pay you for here, you know?
Absolutely.
Okay, and the last game we're going to pick, a team that's really kind of treading water, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to be in Dallas to take on the suddenly fantastic Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott at quarterback. And you got to think maybe Prescott is due for one of those games where, as rookie playing games, everything's been going well, not throwing interceptions, but he might stink it up at some week. Will it be against the Bengals defense? And the Bengals, can they get on track and get back and stay in the real playoff hunt and keep that Super Bowl dream alive? How do you see this one?
I think this is going to be a game where neither team's going to want to win it. It's just a matter of which one loses it for the other. Mm-hmm. I do think it'll be a close game. I could see a lot of turnovers between Dalton only having to throw to A.J. Green and potentially forcing the ball, and Dak just being new and wet behind the ears. That said, I think the Bengals D stops Ezekiel Elliott. I know the 49ers couldn't do it Sunday, but the 49ers let David Johnson run all over them tonight, so not a good comparison. I like the Bengals D matching up against that Dallas offense and the inexperienced quarterback. Could be a snoozer, could be a close game, but I think they squeak it out in Big D.
Okay, and well, I'm looking at the last game the Bengals played against the Dolphins. I think they won it 22-7, but really should have scored 40 points in that game. Kicking 5 field goals, that's great for their field goal kicker and his accuracy numbers, but that shows a team that just cannot get it done in the red zone. I'm looking at Dallas. I like the way they're rolling right now. They got a lot of confidence playing at home, and I like the Cowboys to take this game and, send the Bengals into a little bit of turmoil yet again. I'm going Cowboys.
Spoken like a true Steeler fan, Charles. I like your consistency. I think this is the first week in a while we've differed on all 3 games, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. So one of us could be 0-3, the other could be 3-0 this week, or who knows, 2-1 and 1-2, or maybe there'll be a tie. But anyways, there are the picks. So let's go ahead and run that down. In Washington and Baltimore, I'm taking Baltimore. Mr. Lardieri takes Washington. We split also on Atlanta and Denver. I'm going with Matty Ice in Atlanta, while Mr. Lardieri goes with the reigning Super Bowl champions. And then Cincinnati and Dallas. Mr. Lardieri is putting all his chips on the big redhead here. So, now, the segment which debuted so successfully last week, our Gambler's Delight picks. Now, what this is about, and mind you, we do not advocate gambling, but if you happen to be in Vegas, stand at the sports book and you got $10 burning a hole in your pocket, one football bet you need to make, what should it be? Last week, I went with playing the over on the Carolina and Atlanta game. I think the over-under was around 50 points or so. They combined for 80 points, so no problem there. Mr. Lardieri said to put your money on the New Orleans Saints and take that 3.5 points. The San Diego Chargers, of course, the Saints won that game, so you would have won there. So had you bet a house, you'd now have 2 houses. Had you bet the farm, you now have 2 farms. Had you bet your life savings would have doubled in just one single day. Mr. Lardieri, you're the New Jersey guy. What have you got for us this week, your Gambler's Delight pick?
Yeah, you lump us all in as degenerate gamblers. So full disclosure, I'm not a gambler. I just play one here on TV, Inside Sports TV to be exact. If I was in Vegas or knew someone going to Vegas, what I would wager on or advise them to wager on are the lowly Detroit Lions, depending on what book you look at. I saw one that says they're at home getting 3.5 against the wonderkind Carson Wentz and the now resurgent Philadelphia Eagles. Great story. They're undefeated. They beat the Steelers. They're coming off a bye week, but for whatever reason, when I see a home team underdog against a team that as far as I'm concerned, hasn't proven a heck of a lot yet, I've got to take the points, especially with the hook. So, at the very least, the Lions have been keeping the games close in the bad losses they have had, including to the Bears and Tennessee. But I think they keep it close. Like my logic last week, it worked. I'm going to stick with it. If they lose, it'll be a field goal or less. I got a funny feeling they sneak this one out. Matthew Stafford seems to pull magic out of his hat when you least expect it, so I'm going to have some faith in the lowly Detroit Lions to upset the Eagles, but to hedge your bet, take those 3.5 points.
There you go. And I'm not sure it's actually his hat where Matt Stafford pulls the luck out of, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. So what I'm going to go with is the Monday night contest, Carolina and Tampa Bay. Here you got 2 desperate teams, both of them 1-3. Whoever loses this game, they can kiss their playoff hopes goodbye, even if it is the Panthers. It doesn't matter. They're not going to get out of this one. Now, Cam Newton in concussion protocol. We don't know if he's going to play. He may not. If not, it'll be Derek Anderson getting under center. But last time I checked, the over-under here was anywhere. It was about 42, 43 points. What I'm saying is to go ahead and play the under on this. Okay, sell this one short. Take the under on Carolina and Tampa Bay. I look at, even if Newton plays, I don't think they're going to put him in danger. He's not going to be dropping back a lot. This is going to be ground and pound on both sides. A game they both need to win. Also, the hurricane situation, there's going to be a lot of emotions involved there. So, a little bit of a sloppily played game is what I'm looking at, and go ahead and play the under on this Carolina and Tampa Bay game. And you can thank me next week.
I'm going to give you your money's worth before I leave today.
Let's hope we keep it going 2 weeks in a row. I enjoy this segment.
Okay, before we sign off, remember everybody, you can follow me on Twitter at The Inside Sports. Follow Mr. Lardieri on Twitter at Chris L. Sports. Chris, final words for us.
Getting back to my theme I love to hammer home, TV ratings and politics, lo and behold, Sunday night, the second presidential debate, but it's up against Sunday Night Football with the Giants and Packers. What on paper looks like a marquee television matchup with the biggest media market and a national team with a big following. I'll go out on a limb since we're having our little Gambler's Delight theme continued, and I'll say the Packers-Giants game will not get blown out of the water in the TV ratings like the Saints-Falcons game did. That said, don't be surprised if even they may come a little close in the ratings, even split. I won't go out on a limb and say the game will outrate the debate, because you know what you're going to get with the debate, especially with Trump going out of his mind and bloviating. But that said, if the game's a blowout, that could affect the NFL game. But just something to keep your eye on. The talking heads will be pontificating on this Monday, and hopefully by next Thursday we can see I told you so.
All righty, there we go. And Mr. Lardieri, always very eloquent. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching. Remember, the show is NFL Football Talk. This is an Inside Sports production. For Mr. Chris Lardieri, I'm Charles E. Smith Jr. Thank you for watching, and we'll see everybody next week. Enjoy the games and the debates.